episode 629 of Good Luck High Five.
You're listening to a podcast that's for you if you play Magic the Gathering. Whether you played Aetherdrift at the pre-release this past weekend, or you don't give a hoot about a vehicle going toot.
Yeah, there it is.
It happened. We're here for you.
I'm one of your hosts, Maria.
I'm another one of your hosts, Megan.
And this week, we've got another very special guest with us on the show, host Tyler.
Hey, hello.
I'm waving these flags over you to initiate you.
Yes. Okay. If it's an initiation, I guess I'll accept it.
If you've watched Commander Arcade, you probably already know Tyler.
Or listen to a few episodes of Good Luck High Five.
That's true. Or listen to a few episodes. Okay. You know.
Including one just
Well,
2
but to
weeks
be fair,
ago.
Megan, there were
That's
all
also- that is
episodes
true.
that you
I
were
was
unable
not- I
to
forgot-
participate in.
Yeah, Tyler was here, to be fair, because I was not here. I've had a sick 6 months.
Yeah,
months.
it's been a rough winter.
and not
I
sick
think.
in a good way.
Yeah, not sick. I do love using sick in a positive
same,
connotation,
same.
but in
Yeah.
this case, sick, parentheses, negative,
Yeah.
comma, medical.
Man, hasn't it? Don't you feel like this winter has been especially brutal for being
For illnesses?
sick?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I rarely ever get sick, and I've been sick twice. I had COVID for over a week.
Yep.
And then I had the flu for over a week.
Yeah. And I had a nasty cold that just would not die.
Yeah.
Still kind of with me.
And I know
quite
multiple
honestly.
people who have had the same thing, just like all winter.
Winter, get your act together, okay?
Mask
'Cause
up out there, you guys.
We're
truly.
sick, parentheses, mad about it.
Wait, what? What? Matt,
Can I hear that sentence again?
yeah, can we take it from the top?
Okay,
There's
yeah.
like a spelling bee. Can
Sure,
I
sure,
hear
sure.
that
Okay,
in context now?
We are sick, parentheses, mad about it, and end parentheses of it.
Oh, now we
yes.
know.
That actually
Now-
was very helpful.
We're
I didn't know
sick
it was
of
going
it.
to be.
Okay,
we're
yeah,
sick of
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But in nestled
yes.
in the middle there.
Negative.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mad
Comma
about it.
over it.
Disrespectful.
Yes. Comma non-medical.
Non-medical, and parentheses of it.
Send it to print.
And print. Start the presses. Tyler's here with us this week because you were also here with us this past weekend at the Aetherdrift Prerelease.
Very true.
And we're going to talk about our experiences Aether drifting down the highway, which some people were doing because it was a freaking snowstorm
It really
that day.
was. Yeah, it was. We got like 5 inches of snow or something overnight, and it was a little. I mean, the highways were in good shape, but some of the side roads and
It was a
a
little spooky.
few chunks of the highway were
Yeah.
a little
I,
dicey.
for the first time on Saturday night, like that I can ever remember, on the highway slid.
Oh,
It was
God,
so
my
spooky.
nightmare.
And luckily it was very brief, right?
Yeah.
It just like it was going around the curve, and like I felt my car slide, and then it caught again, and I was like fine. But didn't love that.
Counterspell.
Not great. Yeah.
I counterspell that happening.
There was one person that did that a couple cars in front of me
Yeah.
as I was on my way there, and I was like, "Ooh!" Like it was one of those things where they
Yikes.
were like going like this, and then they eventually got it back, but it took a little longer than you wanted it to.
Fishtailing.
Yeah.
Bad news. But a few brave souls, us included, made it out to the pre-release, and what a time was had. A very fun set. We're going to talk about our experiences playing Limited in this set with our sealed decks. We're going to show them off to you and let you know how we did with them. We played at Lodestone Coffee and Games in Minnetonka, Minnesota, which is our game store of choice in the area. They're sponsoring this post-pre-release episode, so we want to say thank you to Lodestone.
Thank you, Lodestone.
They're such a nice place to play. Like truly, I
Yes.
don't go to play anywhere else because they have a little coffee shop. You can have yourself a nice little coffee. You can have yourself a cold brew ice cream shake. Anyways, just
there's
plugging that.
burritos that are like not that far.
Yeah, there's like
from
burritos
Down the road.
that are good, and they're always like, "Hey, make sure you get burrito so that place stays in business,
up.
so we continue to have good burritos."
Because they like
But they're
the
the kind of place that gives you the hot tip of go to good burritos, so we continue to
That's a
have
place
good burritos.
to trust. That's
Yes,
what I
it
say.
really is.
They always have cute art for sale on the walls. They have lots
Yep.
of great board games. Everyone there who works there is so
The bathrooms
nice.
are clean and have garbage cans.
And there's quite a few of them
and there's
as well.
three of them.
Three.
There's 3 of them,
Yeah.
which
Yep.
is a good number of
They
bathrooms.
just got brand new tables in there, which
Yes, they're
are
very nice.
Yeah.
very nice to play on. There's a lot of space and room for a full sealed event. And it's also just a really welcoming, wonderful environment and atmosphere there. So if you've been looking for a game store in the Minnesota area, we highly, highly recommend Lodestone Coffee and Games. You should really check them out. It's just like the premier place to play Magic in the Minneapolis area. So
For sure.
Thank you to them for sponsoring this episode and indeed us playing at this pre-release this past weekend. So check them out, Lodestone Coffee and Games. Put that in your internet browser and hit go. Enter.
Go? I don't think that's any of the options. I can hit enter on my keyboard, return on a Mac.
You can click on something, I guess.
Exactly.
Go.
Tap it if you're on your phone.
Oh, here's the thing. I replaced my enter key on my keyboard with go.
Oh, do you know what? That would actually be fun. You can make a little sticker. If you had a little sticker that said go.
A new keycap.
Yeah.
Go.
That'd be cute.
Yeah.
I'm into
Did
it.
you do that just so you could say this right now?
Yep. Yep. Sure did.
All right.
But before we get into our episode and breaking down our Aetherdrift pre-release for you all, we're going to say thank you to the people who also help support our podcast and the show and everything we make here at Good Luck High Five. Those are our patrons.
Thank you so much to everyone who is a patron of Good Luck High Five and everything that we do. That includes Commander Arcade, that includes all of these episodes, everything you make possible. Thank you so much.
Go check it out over on patreon.com/GLHF Magic. You can join at several different tier levels. You get awesome benefits like early access to episode releases, our Discord community, chances to win great prizes, and just, above all, supporting content creators whose work you consume, I think is really important, and we are very, very thankful for that. And we will also give you a shout out if you pledge at $5 a month or more, and that is a new patron this week, Brent!
Brent, thank you so much. There's a lot to get Brent out of shape about. But it doesn't bother us because you're such a great patron.
Hey, Brent, you help us pay the Brent on this office.
Wow, you really do.
All right, Tyler, it's your turn.
Oh, God, okay. Oh, wow.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah. Well, I would say
Yeah.
it's nice to live in a house, but I would honestly rather live in a Brent out in the wilderness. Just walking around, having a wonderful time,
That
like kind of
seems
A nice
lovely.
canvas, Brent.
a nice canvas, or if you're really gonna get like into the ultralight community, there's that sailing fabric that was originally it was made for sails, but it's now being used for a lot of hiking
Brents.
equipment, and it's very It's supposed to be really, really light and really, really durable. Except, well, I won't get into all of the characteristics of the
We really
fabric.
got into this.
Long story short, Brent tent. Thank you.
Speaking of Commander Arcade that Megan just mentioned, we've got a new episode out we want to let you know about in case you don't know. Go over to youtube.com/@GLHF Commander. It's our Aetherdrift episode. We played two new Aetherdrift Precon decks, and we made two other decks which are similar to Precon, so the power level is about the same. Caradora is the commander I play with. Tyler, who do you play with?
I played with Far Fortune.
Yeah.
Rakdos
She's so
commander.
cool.
Yeah, very cool.
She's very cool. I opened her at my pre-release. Spoiler
You
alert.
did, yeah.
Wow.
Okay, yeah, you're getting ahead of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. But the episode is truly a delight, and we'd love for you to all check it out. We just have a great fun time playing these games, and we want you to feel like you're hanging out with us as we're playing them too. So hopefully you do. Check it out right now, youtube.com/@GLHF Commander.
All right, you all. I didn't get to make it to the pre-release, so you've got to tell me all about it.
Yeah, Tyler, would you want to lay out your deck?
Sure, yeah.
And you can talk about it first.
Yeah, let's do it.
And I'll just give you the overview as Tyler's doing this. You can chime
I'll
in
pipe
too.
in. I'll pipe
This is your second pre-release.
That's true.
Tyler.
Yeah, that's very true. Second of all, I feel like I technically participated in some of the lockdown era. I think I went up and picked up a pack, but in terms of actually playing in person somewhere, this is my second.
Yes. It was a delight, less attended than the ones we've been at the past. As noted, there was a snowstorm, but also I don't know if people are as hot on this theme of Aetherdrift. That's just like a hypothesis that I'm having.
Yeah, I think several people have had that hypothesis.
Yeah. Just because the theme, I don't know, racing is kind of more nebulous, I guess, than, the theme of Fast and the Furious.
Yeah.
More nebulous than like Bloomborough, for instance, or even Duskmorn. Yeah.
I mean, those were such flavor forward
They
sets.
really were. Yeah. And
They were very easy to describe.
Yes. Animals.
Animals. Horror.
What more do you need to know?
Well,
Cuties and spookies.
yeah.
spookies.
That's, I mean,
Next
very well
step,
put.
combining the two. Cuties and spookies.
Oh my gosh.
But regardless, it was very fun limited gameplay from the 4 rounds that we played. So, small sample size, but whatever. It was fun and it was challenging in a new way, especially thanks to the new mechanic of max speed and start your engines. I think made games play out in a way that I wasn't used to, quite frankly, games playing out. It was a different way to think about what you should do and when.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me that max speed just wants you to attack.
Yes.
It wants you to deal damage. Big time.
Yeah, so, a mechanic after my own heart, and Tyler's as well, I believe.
Yeah, that's true.
So, Tyler, what have you?
All right, well, I've got another. This is I played a Boros aggro deck the last pre-release, and I did it again. I wasn't really in
Would
love
you
with
say,
my.
oops, you did it again?
Oops, I did it again. I guess. Well, now that I can't help but say it now that you've said it. I guess.
Yeah.
But would I say it on my own? No. But that's sometimes how peer pressure works. I wasn't in love with most of the rares that I opened, so I kind of was thinking. Well, also this was my promo card, and it is Explosive Getaway. It's a kind of a semi one-sided board clear. You get to exile 1 target artifact or creature, which you can choose one of your own, and then it comes back onto the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. So you get to exile it first, and then it deals 4 damage to each creature.
Sick.
So you can kind of exile,
pretty nice.
tuck one of your creatures away, and then deal 4 damage to everything. So I had that. Obviously, that's not necessarily a inherently aggressive card, but most board clears, you can play them even in aggressive decks, and especially if it has a little bit of a one-sided aspect to it. And then I also had this Colodin Triumph Caster, which it reads, mounts and vehicles you control have haste. Whenever a mount you control enters, it becomes saddled until end of turn. Whenever a vehicle you control enters, it becomes an artifact creature until end of turn, and it's a 2/3 for 2.
Card's nuts.
Yeah, it's
That
very
card's
good. If you
very
got
good.
some vehicles or mounts in your deck, it really, once you get that out, which I unfortunately only really got to play it one time, and actually have it do anything, but that it did win me that game for sure. So that's all you can really hope for from your rares. And yeah, I just had kind of a low curve. I had a number of I would say these 2 1-drops are solid. These 2 1-drops maybe. I mean, and I hate to it almost feels like blasphemy, but the Brightfield Glider, not sure I'm. Maybe there's a deck, maybe there's a deck that it fits well into better than Boros, but I would say it was okay. It's nice because it gives you a little bit of like a more of a ability to keep bringing your speed up, because you can keep tapping in for 1 or 2, I should say, in the air if you saddle it. But the fact that it's a 1/1,
it has vigilance,
yeah,
which
I should read.
does help with max speed.
It does, for sure. It helps with the racing aspect of things that can happen, racing in more than one way. But it's a 1/1 vigilance, but if it was a 1/1 flyer that got vigilance and +1/+2 when it's the saddle versus the other way around,
better.
it would be a lot better.
So
of a
much
card.
better. Yeah, it's underperformed.
Yeah, when you just play it and it's a 1/1 vigilance, so you sort of feel bad about it. And the saddle of 3 is just
it's
high,
very
high saddle.
We learned that in the Commander game. It was friggin' hard to saddle.
Yeah, even though your whole deck was kind of built around it. Like,
It's weird that you have to be so big to ride
a flying
sugar glider.
It really is. But on this 1-drop, I thought was very good. This burnout Bastronaut, which is just quite a name altogether. But it's a 1/1 menace with start your engines, which is the new mechanic that brings this speed token into play. And it also has 2. This creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn, and when you get to max speed, which is 4, it has double strike. So that's the kind of a creature that it starts that. It's really important to get the speed going as quickly as possible. So if you can play that on 1, it has menace, so it's probably going to get in the next turn and get you up to 2 a lot of the time. And then it's sitting on the battlefield, and your opponent is looking at that and saying, I don't want that to be a double striking creature that can get pumped for, if you have 6 mana out, it can become like a 3/1 or a 4/1 double striker. So like that's a card that gets to play kind of both ends of the game. It's good on turn 1, and then it can be good later in the game. And another card that I will highlight is, if you've seen the most recent Commander Arcade episode, you'll know that we talked a little bit about our favorite animals, and Sloth is in fact mine. And this Unswerving Sloth, which is a 5-mana 5/5 Sloth Mount. Whenever this creature attacks while saddled, it gains indestructible until end of turn. Untap all creatures you control. Has a saddle of 4, which is high, but you get to if it
That
gets
card
to
is so
It's
good.
really
yeah,
good.
as long as it doesn't get removed at instant speed after you've saddled your creatures, you're gonna get to untap them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, when it's a 5/5 indestructible, it really got into combat. It well.
Yeah.
That's a beater.
Yeah, it really is. And my opponents in my final game, I had played this Swiftwing Assailant, which is a 4-mana 3/3 flying with Starcher Engines and max speed. This creature gains +0/+1 and vigilance. I had played that and was about to attack with it, and I was gonna get max speed. And my opponent used their removal spell on that, and then the next turn I was able to play this Unswerving Sloth, and then they didn't have removal for that,
Yeah.
and that was
Yep.
bad news.
Yeah.
And that brings up the thing I liked about playing with max speed the most was that it adds this kind of other. It's like a parallel dynamic to the game that doesn't usually exist. And there is, I think, one of the things that's going to be skill testing in this limited set is if someone has speed going, how much do you sell out to try to prevent them from getting to max speed? Because there's some cards that have a payoff that's really, really good. And there's some ones like this Swiftwing Assailant where it's like, it getting +0/+1 in vigilance, that's good. A 3/4 vigilance flyer is good, but it's not like a game warping sort of a effect. Whereas maybe this with double strike, maybe that's a little bit more of a thing where it's like, wow, that's a very different card when it has double strike than when it doesn't. So I think there's going to be there's just going to be a fun game that you're going to have to play with yourself about, like, it's obviously you don't want your opponent to get max speed, but there may be some times when it's better to let them get max speed versus having to really give up a lot of resources or value to try to stop them from getting max speed. So I really like that aspect of it.
I'm very curious to see how limited plays out as far as that's concerned, because number one, like you making sacrifices to get it, and two, you making sure that you have defenses up to stop it.
Yep.
Well, I think adds another layer in our 7-layer bar of Magic the Gathering.
Wow, this is not our first 7-layer bar discussion.
No, it is not.
Infamously.
No, it is not.
Where we once discovered that butter is considered
One of the layers.
One of the layers,
Wow.
which is absurd.
Yeah.
Well,
anyways,
if it's thick enough, how
I
thick?
suppose, but it's not going to stay in the layer.
And
Yeah,
also, it's not its own layer.
What
It
if it
goes
was
in the graham cracker layer?
What if it was a solid
No,
inch of
then
butter?
no one would eat that bar anymore.
after-
It would not be a dessert anyone knew about.
Everyone who has eaten
Everyone
it has
would
died.
it would get eaten once, and then someone would be like, "Never make that again," and don't tell anybody
you forgot
about it.
about the butter layer. No, you know what? I didn't forget about it. No, because it's like mixed in with the graham cracker.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
doesn't count.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Well,
This bar has
Yeah,
6
this
layers.
bar has 6 layers.
This bar has 6 layers, and I enjoyed I enjoyed that aspect of it. I do think it may be a really fast format, especially on Arena Best of One. Like, I think that this format
Oh,
will be one where
yeah.
you're really gonna not want to. You don't want to take, like, you want to be playing to the board early on. Like, even if you're playing a slower deck, I think you just need to include some lower cost, either removal spells or creatures that are going to be able to allow you to interact with someone who starts their speed early and then, is not just getting a couple free attacks in to get you down to, or to get their speed up right away. Because it's one of those things where, yeah, maybe in other formats, if there's like a 1/1 attacking you, it's really not that threatening. But in this, if that 1/1 is like giving them a new level of speed each turn, that is a real thing that you need to stop. So it's, one of those things you have to consider with your, regardless of what type of deck you're playing, I think.
Tyler, how did this deck perform for you?
It performed well. I won 3 rounds, and the first round, having said it was fast, the first round I had with my first opponent went to time, and we only got 2 games in, so it was 1-1. We split the first 2 games and didn't get a chance to play the third, so I did give my opponent the win on that, just as a courtesy.
Oh, that's very nice of you.
And it was a gift to everyone, because then I got to play you in the second round, and
Yes.
that was just a joy to do.
Because I lost.
Well, no. Honestly,
No,
okay, you
yeah.
did lose.
Yes.
I'm not going to
Yeah.
lie to you about that.
Yeah.
But
I'm going to say I knew was going to happen the second I sat down across from you.
wow, that's kind of you.
Wow.
That's kind of you to say. But the vibe I got of it was because I was like, I've done this. This first round, I was like, oh yeah, this felt good to, it just felt, it was nice. It was just chill. We were having fun. The games went long, and there was like some interesting stuff that happened. Like, I was kind of behind in one, and like I drew my board clear, and like, there's just some fun things that happened in the game. And if I'm honest, it's kind of like, I like to win. I'm not going to lie to you about that.
Well,
but,
I did say that's most Magic players.
but there's something about the pre-release vibe where just starting off with a draw, it kind of felt like good
Yeah,
in a way.
yeah.
And then I was like, and then because of that, I got to play you the
Yeah.
second round, and that was really fun. We were sitting next to our friend Nels, who's also been on Commander Arcade. He just happened to got paired up with someone else next to us. So it was just it felt like a really nice way to start out the day.
It was lovely. And then we got to play, and you would be like, well, are you sure you want to attack like that? Do you maybe want to do this and whatever? And like in most games, I do not advocate for like making those comments to your opponent. But between two friends, and Tyler and I talk about strategy a lot.
Yes, I would never do that to
No, you wouldn't.
Just a stranger.
But I'm highlighting it because it was truly quite lovely, because we got to talk through like, well, what do you think is actually the best thing here
totally.
if you had no information or whatever? And like talking through games like that, I think is so fun, and it's not something we get a chance to do all that often, to really like assess our decision making on like putting the pedal to the metal here and applying pressure here, or like, if you're up against it, you can't protect a loss or whatever.
Yes.
It was very interesting.
And you learn so much more doing it that way, just because you have the opportunity to see from that other person's perspective. And I think Magic is one of those games that allows for so many different play styles that regardless of your quote unquote like skill level, I think you really can learn something from almost anyone playing the game if you were actually able to like fully understand their thought process as they sit down to play it, because there's just people are going to approach things in a novel way that you wouldn't have thought to. And I think, that felt like a thing that, you're just going to learn something both ways on that, I think. So,
do you have any cards in here you want to call out as A, overperformers, or B, underperformers?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, absolutely. I think I will call out this Spot Cycle Scouter. It's a 2-mana 3/2 and it's a vehicle. When it enters, you get a Scry 2 and it has a crew 1.
So
the
cheap.
Scry 2 really felt good every time I played it. Small sample size, but like it really felt like you're not going to want 1,000 of these in your deck because it is a vehicle, but it does have a really low crew cost. So if you're in an aggressive deck and you have some of these, little, let's say the Brightfield Glider,
have
like
4
maybe,
1-drop.
Let that possum drive
this
car.
drive this motorcycle, and
that's cute.
Yeah,
That's so cute.
2-mana 3/2 crew 1, that's just like kind of probably going to do some things for you. And that Scry 2, in the later game, it can feel like drawing a card. And in the early game, it's going to keep you from, your mana getting mana screwed or flooded. And I think those two things felt really good about it. This Sundial Tyrant was just a house on turn 2. All the games that it came down. It's
a 3/3.
The 3/3 versus a 2/2. That's all it is, but it really did seem like
one of those vanilla creatures. From the
one
set.
of those vanilla legends from the set, and it just seemed like it always had good attacks, like in that early part of the game if it came down then.
Ooh, you played the Rover Blades. How did
did.
those go for you?
I would say in this deck they felt decent. I think it's one of those cards that like it's a little bit of a win more card, I think. Like, I think if you're in a good state, I think it can be something that can really help you win more. But
if you're behind, maybe they feel
if you're behind,
bad.
not feeling great, I think it's cool because it has a lot more versatility than this type of card often does, just because you can, it has double strike, it's a vehicle, it's a 2/2 with crew 2, which is not terrible. And then you also can equip something and give it double strike, which if you have some more evasive creatures in the later game, like that can really be a real thing. A card that really worked well with that card was this Reckless Velocitar. It's a Minotaur Pilot 3/3. Whenever it saddles a mount or cruise a vehicle during your main phase, that mount or vehicle gets +2/+0 and gains trample until end of turn. So
that's pretty good.
These two cards together
seems great.
Yeah, very very good. It was also
happened to me.
Yeah, oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, trigger warning. It was very good with the Sloth as well, because the one downside of the Sloth is that even though it's indestructible, it can still get chumped. But if it has trample, it really is a very difficult thing to deal with. Yeah, exactly. So last thing I would say is that like these cards, there's this cycle of cards that has Start Your Engines, and they're kind of like mid-tier, mid-statted creatures. They're not like anything amazing, but they have this max speed 3, exile this card from your graveyard, draw a card. It didn't come into play a bunch of times.
Goblin Surveyor here.
Yeah, Goblin Surveyor is it's a 3-mana 3/2 with trample. And there's also Leonin Surveyor, which I think is probably the best of them. And it's a 2-mana 2/2 with during your turn, it has first strike, and it also starts your engines. So this coming down on 2, again, it's usually going to have good attacks the next turn, and so you probably are going to get your speed up to 2 a lot of the time with this card. And then having that buyout of 3 exile this card from your graveyard, it came up a few times, and it was just nice. It's one of those things that they often sprinkle into sets these days, where it just makes makes the gameplay, smooths it out a little bit overall, and feels like it makes for less non-games, I think.
Sure.
Than sometimes would happen. So yeah. I would say, it was a fun deck to play. I would say I got, I think it drew decently well, but as I said last time, I think if you play an aggressive strategy in sealed and you have like you don't want to force it and not actually have like, if you have like one drop and like 3 2-drops or something, like don't make yourself into an aggressive deck. But like if you have, if your pool can support it, it's often a pretty, a solid strategy, especially if you don't have a bunch of really overpowered rares. So I enjoyed playing the deck.
Good experience overall?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I've as we alluded to in the initial section, I think Lodestone is it's felt very welcoming. It's like a very chill environment. I feel like I recognized a few people from the first pre-release, and that was nice. And you can always just ask people, like, hey, how often do you come to pre-releases, and have a chat about them. And like my final opponent, they had said that they'd taken the last pre-release off, but they'd been to like everyone for like 2 years before that, and it had just so happened that the one that I came to they hadn't been at, so it was kind of a fun little conversation that we had about that. So yeah, it was just a lovely time. It's lovely to play. I play in paper less than I really play in paper for Commander Arcade, and then these pre-releases, like honestly, and
this reminds me of a story I said I was going to tell.
Oh yeah,
about
you
Tyler.
should. Yeah, a little roasting of me here.
I was playing against him, and he had his lands out. I think you may have 4 lands and like 3 or 3 creatures.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
but they were all in a row, and I was like, Tyler, I got to tell you something. Yeah. This is even worse than playing with your
side by side.
Yes.
Yeah. The board etiquette was
wild.
Really.
I thought I couldn't hate lands in front. Well, I thought that was the peak of my hatred. But it turns out
lands. Tyler, you hated it?
Lands. Megan, I'm gonna just lay this out for you, and I'm gonna see how you feel about it. Okay. I want you to imagine.
Yeah, you kind of need to take these away.
They'll take these away. That you're sitting down to play a game of Magic: The Gathering.
Yeah.
Right? Here's the deck over here. It's hanging out.
Okay, I've only got 4 lands, but I somehow played this Unswerving Sloth. And I also played this Dracosaur.
And then like, here's a copter. Like, how are you feeling about what's occurring right now?
This is how I feel. I feel weird about it. I don't hate it, but I'm mostly just like, what?
What's happening? Yeah. What's happening?
What is going on?
It was such a delight. Because I got to roast Tyler about it. I'm like, man, I don't even, I can't even handle this.
It was a valid question.
What?
But then I got to say like, hey, but what about my nice old lands from my childhood?
They are really nice.
These are some OGs
so
here.
They're so pretty.
Many years ago when I played with my little brother, and I used to play, and we had these cards.
That's so sweet.
I love that.
Yeah, so I still have some of the lands, so I play with them sometimes.
Man, bringing your own lands to pre-release is a goated move.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I mean, if you have them, of course. If you
both
don't,
do it, and I don't, so that one's a roast of me.
Oh no.
Okay. I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm fine.
Everyone, we want to say thank you to one of our show sponsors, Card Kingdom.
CardKingdom.com/GLHF, the best place to go for all of your Magic needs, including all of those sweet singles now that Aether Drift is out.
Yeah, do you like the different art styles that are included in this set? You might say no.
Do you hate them and want to get them for someone as a prank?
Exactly, that's what I was gonna say. Or your enemies, just like to really to put the fear of whatever their god is into them.
Yeah.
Card Kingdom, gifts for your friends and for your enemies.
Because you can get yourself the original version if you don't want the different one.
Yeah.
And get one you hate for your enemy. Like get a good one for you and a bad one for your enemy.
I'm all for this gifting enemies presents situation.
Yeah. And then eventually
aggressive presents.
Well, but also eventually maybe they're not your enemies anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like if you give an enemy enough gifts, even if they were bad gifts, are you eventually friends?
I think there's a decent chance. Better than not giving them gifts. I think it increases the chance for sure.
Card Kingdom, if you give make your enemies into your friends.
I mean, they help with it for sure. You can check them out at cardkingdom.com/GLHF. Get those presents for your enemies, for your friends, for your frenemies even. You can order singles there from Aether Drift. You can order some sealed product if you want. You can order packs from past sets if you just want to crack them to feel something. Hey, they got you.
We all need it sometimes.
Yeah.
We all need it.
Cardkingdom.com/GLHF. Big thank you as well to our other sponsor, Dragon Shield.
Dragon Shield have incredible sleeves, the best in the business. They shuffle like butter, baby.
That's exactly what I said at the pre-release, Megan. I was playing
actually true.
across from Tyler, and I've got some of the rainbow hippo sleeves that they made for us.
These are custom.
Custom.
Get custom sleeves from Dragon Shield. They make it So easy.
Yeah.
And I was like, Tyler, these are shuffling like butter.
And then you said, I love a good butter shuffle. And then I was like, all right. I mean,
And then Maria was like, and I love it as one of the layers
in
of
a
my
7-layer
7-layer bar.
and I
said all
and I
those
said,
things.
what are you talking?
You're like, that can't possibly be a layer. And I was like, Tyler, Google it.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it was one of their layers.
One of the layers.
What we're saying is you can put a picture of a 7-layer bar on sleeves and print them from Dragon Shield, custom sleeves, whatever you want.
And then shuffle your butter sleeves and say they
They
shuffle
shuffle
like
like
butter.
Because they do.
Yes, man.
And it really, if you use our link, you get 5% off of your order. So please make sure that you use that. Tell them we sent you
Yeah,
by
use
using that link.
use the link and then code GLHF will get you the 5%
Oh, that's right.
off.
Use the link so that they know
Yeah,
we sent you,
correct.
and use GLHF for 5% off.
Yeah. So get yourself a deal. Get yourself some sleeves with a 7-layer bar on them. Then tag us
Also, that'd be very funny.
in social
I mean, really
media
would.
Legitimately, really incredible if you
because
did
we
that.
need to see them. Or even if there's just like butter, like a picture of butter on
Anything
them.
even butter adjacent.
Yeah. A personal photo that you took of butter.
Hey Tyler, what do you? What's something for you that you would consider butter adjacent if it was to be on some sleeves? I'm just
God.
curious.
I guess milk.
I thought for sure you were
Or-
gonna be like something made with butter, but
Oh, sure. Well,
also
that's-
milk is, I
Milk.
guess, butter
There
adjacent.
we go.
I mean, yeah,
On
like
its way.
Or you could, I mean, if for the dairy free amongst us, of which I am not. I don't drink a lot of dairy, but like if
Yeah.
but yeah, you could have, just like it could be dairy adjacent, but it's like, a picture of a coconut or something.
So what we're saying is put whatever you want on
Yeah.
your sleeves and tag
Yeah.
us because we want to see them. Dragon Shield, check them out. Code GLHF. Well, friends, I built Rakdos, which is now laid out on the table before you, which I was very excited about because I had opened a few gold cards in Rakdos, and I really love building my sealed decks around my cool gold cards I open. I don't know why I do, but I just really enjoy
I mean,
that.
I don't think it's a bad. I mean, it depends on
Gold
what you
cards
have,
are
but yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and they're often very good. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. And my Far Fortune got to be in my deck.
Yeah.
This is the lady. So I was trying to build a little aggressive max speed deck, which obviously Rakdos wants to do. Before I talk about my creatures and spells, I want to just shout out that I played 4, what do you want to call these?
Market lands?
Or yeah, like
Raceways?
engine lands.
Engine lands? I'm not sure.
I want to call them engine lands.
2 copies of Night Market, which is a land where you can choose a color and it taps for that chosen color. It has a cycling 3 as well on it. Nice little inclusion, I think. And I had Raceway lands. I had more than this. I opened, I think, all of them. But I only played 2. Avishkar Raceway, which has Start Your Engines, and Max Speed 3, tap, discard, and draw. And Murgonda Raceway, which is the rare, which gives you taps for 2 colorless once you have max speed.
Nice.
So those I played, and it also has Start Your Engines. And the reason I played them was the benefit is kind of nice. Literally never came into play ever a single time on either of them, but the Start Your Engines did. And that was very important. And I would often play them on turn 1 just to get up and running.
Yeah.
And honestly, strike
Get those engines running.
fear in the heart of my opponent, right? Because I'm already at speed 1.
Yeah.
And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 2-drops. So I'm going to play one of those on 2. And while they, honestly, I had a lot of people kill my 2-drop because they're like,
Sure.
I don't have a play.
Yeah.
I don't want you to, or a creature to block. I don't want you to keep, ratcheting up your speed throughout this game. So that it was helpful in that regard.
Yeah.
My lovely gold cards, which included Far Fortune and Boss, she's a 4/5. Start your engines, but let's be honest, your engines are started.
Oh, I mean, hopefully there.
Hopefully
by
Fingers
turn-
crossed.
by turn 4.
Hopefully. She says whenever you attack, she deals 1 damage to each opponent. And also if you give max speed, she adds 1 damage to everything that something would do to an opponent. So she's got great stats and also a fabulous ability. But quite honestly, she wasn't the best gold card in this deck.
Ooh, what was?
It was Castle Thrill Seeker.
Ooh.
This little 2/3 for Rakdos mana, so black-red. Start your engines. When this creature enters, it deals 1 damage to target opponent, and you gain 1 life. So already you're upping your max speed with that little friend. And then with max speed, this little guy has Death Touch and Haste.
Yeah.
So it has relevance later in the game, like you were talking about, Tyler.
Yeah.
due to max speed. This creature is incredible. It does everything that you want to do. It's going to increase your speed. It's going to hit, and it's going to be able to threaten a trade late in the game too.
Yeah.
Absolutely love this card. Best card in the deck. The rest of my 2-drops, who gives a rip? They were not great.
Oh, well, you say that about Tyrox Sordid Tyrant. Yeah. I said this to
4/1?
Maria at the pre-release, but I really love. I imagined that he knew that there was gonna be like a lava explosion like coming, so he like waddled over and like set his camera down, and then he went back, he picked up his spear, and then he had it on a timer, and then he got his like, and then like right as it exploded, it's like I just love that for him.
Yeah, that's his profile pick for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
So I had that little 4/1. Sure, he can crew whatever. Deathless Pilot, which is the 2/2, which you can get back from the graveyard to crew again. And this is interesting, everybody. I think this pilot creature type, don't quote me on this, but I'm like, maybe I should check.
If I can't, it's not true of all.
It's not true of all of them for sure. Are you about to say? Yeah. That Minotaur creature I had was a pilot, and I think they universally have some sort of bonus around crewing and saddling, but I don't think they definitely don't all give
crew
this
as though their power
Yeah.
creature. Their power 2 greater, which is what the pilot token, if you make that with anything, also does that. 2 copies of Gilded Goda, that's the horse. This deck, I thought looked fine when I built it. Performed like a real wet napkin.
Interesting.
Go on.
I only got 1 win. Everything else it just felt like it was just not assembling. It was not creating the engine. And then once it had the engine, it had nowhere to go. It fell out of the car.
The engine did?
Yeah.
Or you did? Or both?
Both. Yeah. And I don't quite know why, to be honest with you, because I had a nice number of 2-drops. I had a nice number of 3-drops. I had some pretty good cards and vehicles. Not quite sure. But that being said, I can call out the Gastel Thrill Seeker and feel pretty confident about saying how good that card is.
Yeah.
A neat little combo this deck had was Demonic Junker, which is a 4/3 vehicle. The version I have is like the new art card version, and it looks like a creature.
Yeah, I do.
It does.
And I mistaked it for one at one point without crewing it, so don't make that mistake, friends. It has affinity for artifacts. When this vehicle enters, for each player, destroy up to 1 target creature that player controls. If that creature you controlled was destroyed this way, put a +2/+1/+1 counters on this vehicle. I had a nice little combo because I also was running the sorcery Back on Track, which gets a card back out of your graveyard. So I killed one of my guys, put 2 counters on this vehicle, got my creature back with Back on Track, and also made a pilot token, which is a pretty sick play.
Nice.
Which was really fun. Gosh,
what do you think was the problem?
Yeah. If you had to,
was there not enough card for card?
Maybe not. I was okay at getting max speed, but I don't know if I had enough ways to close out the game once I had it, I guess is what I'm thinking.
If I had to guess, just looking, again, just a guess, this feels like a deck that can run out of its juice.
Yeah, the steam wasn't enough to get me across the finish line.
Yeah.
Maybe the high end is like, I mean, Far Fortune is. I think I also look at it and I think like having at least a couple 1-drops like in a deck that's trying to do the max speed thing. I think it feels like that's a really nice place to be. I mean, I don't know all the cards in the set by heart, and I don't know how many 1-drops there are that give max speed, but I think there's like a chunk of them, and I think that having that feels like it's a really important part of the process. And even your 2, I think you just only have 2-drops that do that as well. And this one, as you said, A+, excellent card.
Seeker, yeah.
But End Rider Catalyzer is a way less enticing.
That's a 3/1.
Yeah, it's cool it's a cool card. I like the design of it. It like can tap for red mana later on in the game, but it's not a card that's necessarily going to have a, you might start your engines and then like it just may not have an attack that's reasonable after that. So I wonder if that might have been.
Yeah, I think there was just not a way to finish the race, I think, with this deck. But we were starting the race off strong, and then we would kind of peter out, because there's a lot of really stinking good cards in this set. A lot of people have said, hey, this set feels pushed because some of the cards are just like, what are you talking about? Like, I played against somebody who was playing blue-white vehicles, and some of those vehicles are absurd. Like one of them just steals your creature.
Yeah,
they can't attack.
Blue.
Yeah,
5/5
or block
vehicle,
with it, but they can crew with it.
Yeah.
Then there's one in white, which just detains it forever. Then there's
That's that chariot, right?
the chariot. I think that's a rare. But what I
think
mean,
it might. Well, maybe it probably is. I was gonna say that might be an uncommon. I feel like there's one of those exile ones that's an uncommon, but I don't know which one.
it just felt like I couldn't compete later on with what was happening. Despite having some good removal in the form of Grim Bauble. It's a great card which gives a creature -2/-2 until end of turn. Maybe I shouldn't call it great. I'm going to back up. Normally this would be really great. Okay, it's an artifact, but it can't hit a vehicle.
Sure.
And I found myself so many times wishing I could just target a ding dang vehicle with
That's
it.
interesting.
So
That's a good
I'll
point.
just throw that out there.
All right.
Outpace Oblivion, which is an enchantment that deals 5.
Yeah.
Spin out a kill spell just outright.
It's like murder plus
vehicles.
Yeah.
Kill of car.
Yeah.
Like several of the
Yeah.
movies we were talking about last week.
Oh, yeah. If you're a producer, you know what we're saying. Pretty fun segment. I had 3 copies of Grim Javelineer, which is a 3/2, a human warrior. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. When that creature dies, this turn surveil 1. Let me tell you how annoying this was to continually read for my opponents. Like, like
does
what?
say a lot of
There's a
stuff
lot
on
of
it.
things
Yeah.
going on here in this card.
There are. That is true.
But I think it performed very well for
Good.
what
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
Giving it something, that extra power really made a difference a lot of the time. But yeah, max speed incredibly important for me in this deck because a lot of my cards were just kind of like, okay,
A little mopey without
little
it.
mopey without it. And then the mopiest I'm going to just shout out here, Streaking Oil Gorger, what a name. 5 mana, 3/3 flying haste. Has start your engines. Again, why? They're already started.
I mean, if they're not,
Then
Just in case they're not, I suppose.
Just in case they're not.
Just in case.
Yeah. But if they're not, God help you.
You're
you
in
know?
trouble. Max speed, it has lifelink. Now, that's when you're like, yes, I love this card. Otherwise, you're like, get out of my deck.
Yeah. And I do think
Get out of my house.
I think mathematically getting to having max speed before you attack on turn 5, I think is kind of difficult to do.
Yes,
as well.
it is.
So
It
I
is
think
very
it's just
hard.
like one of
Yep.
those things where, and then if you're spending your turn 5 to kind of deal 3 damage,
and
like,
deal 3, try to get max speed.
Yeah,
you feel behind.
yeah, I think there is truth to that.
Yes, that's how I felt playing that card. So a sadder tale than Tyler's tale, but it was a fun tale nonetheless.
How dare you tell a sad tale?
Oh, yeah,
Not
that's-
on this podcast.
Wow. Well, Maria, give me like what's your top takeaway?
Top takeaway is what we were talking about before, that max speed, getting it early and grabbing it is going to be a deal maker in so many games. And if
right.
you don't have it, your deck is going to feel bad if you're a deck that even remotely
That cares about it, yeah.
I did
All
play
right.
against a blue-black player who
Had no max.
had no max speed and did not care, and it was totally fine for them, right?
Yeah.
But for anyone, if you even give one snowball's care in heck about what's going on with their speed, boy, oh boy, do you want to get that
And
speed
really,
early.
when you think of, I mean, like how,
Yeah.
it's just one single snowball, like probably doesn't care
Once-
that
yeah.
much, but even
It's
in that
some
scenario,
amount of care.
some amount of
Some
care.
amount of
it's
care.
a tiny amount of
Yes.
care.
Amount
Yes.
of care,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this set to be on Arena coming out this week, everybody. I definitely am jazzed to draft it. I think it's going to be really, really fun to draft.
Agreed.
Hopefully it won't be aggressively
Yeah, it's
aggro.
always that best of one. That was the other thing I was going to say about max speed is it's a really fun best of 3 mechanic too, because it really is one of those things where you get to like, you can stretch your brain a little bit after you've played a deck once or twice and say like, how good were their max speed payoffs and how much does that play into that thing we were
Sure,
talking about
yeah,
earlier about
that's a great
how
point.
much you want to try to keep them from getting max speed. And I really appreciated that aspect of it in this pre-release. Like I think that's one of the things that you'll miss if you just play this in a best of 1 format, is that like there is that extra added piece that the max speed brings to the table where it really gives you, like obviously anytime you play a deck more than once, you're going to have that added information, but it's this whole extra dial that you can mess around with in that respect, which I really appreciate.
So Megan, we might be, I might be joining you in those best of 3 queues.
Oh yeah,
For
I
this
love
set
playing best
instead.
of 3 on draft.
Same.
So, we're getting old school
Yeah.
up in here. Well, everybody, that's this episode of Good Luck High Five. Thank you so much for drifting with us.
Wow, I learned so much.
Hey.
Thank you both for going on this reconnaissance mission.
Yeah,
Hey,
we were
our pleasure.
spies
Yeah, we were spies.
You did good work. You
amongst,
did good work.
Amongst, 40 or 50 other spies.
Yes.
It was a spy convention.
It was a
let's
spy
say.
convention, but no one knew. You can't talk about the fact
Of
that
course,
it's a spy convention.
Everybody at the convention is like,
chill.
hey,
no one,
are you here for the flower convention?
No, I'm here for the mechanical engineering convention.
Yeah, me too, actually.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
Do you want to go talk about the mechanical engineering?
Yeah, for sure. Like turrets and like oil, grease.
I hope there's some.
We have different understandings of what mechanical engineering is.
I think I'm just describing an auto shop.
Two things, turrets and grease.
I hope that there's some members of some kind of CIA or NSA, one of the covert.
One of the essays.
Fired.
Because that was just a great example of tradecraft. I mean, like anyone who listened to that, they are going to be a better spy than they were before they listened to it. Because that's two people. If two spies met, that's like we were a fly on the wall of that conversation.
100%. Thank you for being a fly on the wall of this conversation. Bring it back around.
Thank you to all of our patrons. Patreon.com/GLHF Magic.
Thank you for paying the Brent.
The Brent for us. Thank you to Dragon Shield. Thank you to Card Kingdom. And thank you to Lodestone Coffee and Games for being our partner for this episode. What a fabulous time it was. Please let us know how Aetherdrift is going for you. We would love to hear all about it in our Discord if you're patrons, on our socials if you're not patrons, or you can just say it to your cat and it'll get its way to us through the cat speaker system of the world. Do you know about that, Tyler?
I did, yeah, from you.
Oh, thank you. Good.